Hello, welcome to the first episode of my podcast. My name's Adam Garceau. I'm the owner of Grab Your Assets, a creative agency. And I just wanted to start off this show with the first episode being about me and about Grab Your Assets and what it's all about. So the first thing I want to talk about is my backstory. And then I kind of want to talk about family first math, the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing today. There's one big purpose for me, and it's my family, right? So yeah, it is a greater purpose, but it's not like I'm trying to change the whole world. I'm just trying to change my world and those that I see on a day-to-day basis, especially those who are in my family, mainly my wife and kids. And then talk about the kind of the pain that I eliminate, the brands that are having an issue spending lots of money on ads and not getting them results, or not getting the results that they want, or their results are slowing down, and how to fix that. And then the other part is just that I think I want to kind of try to bring a little bit of a different tone to this whole entrepreneurship thing. I kind of hate how things are, and they're very focused on a single person's lifestyle, and I'm not a single person. I'm a dad. It just hurts people when they hear great things about get 8 hours of sleep, and you're like, who's getting 8 hours of sleep? I want to know. Welcome to the podcast. My name's Adam with Grab Your Assets, and before we go any further, I just want to plug what I do. I help CPG brands figure out what kind of content they should be making so that they can scale profitably. If that's something that interests you, then go ahead and reach out. I'm not going to bore you to death or try to offer you any sort of incentive. I'm not going to tell you something that's too good to be true. There's no crazy offer. I just simply want to help you, and I have got results in the past, and I will share results that I get in the future when I do other projects. Some of my projects have gotten millions of views on TikTok. I've gotten like a 3-row ads from some of my creative, and then others of my creative have gotten conversions for less than $4 a piece. If that's something that you're interested in, then go ahead and send me an email, adam@grabyourassets.com. I'd be excited to work with you or just send you a proposal to see if that's the kind of thing that you want. I've specialized in UGC content, YouTube, TV ads, and all sorts of other kinds of stuff. And with that, let's continue with the show. So first thing I would like to talk about here is just a little quick backstory about me. So I am in the Army Reserves, been there since 2011, and went to kind of like a performing arts high school. I'm 30 years old now, but turning 31 very shortly in the next week or two. And joined the Army, served a mission for my church, went to school, and at school I spent a long time trying to decide what I wanted to do, just because I'm not the kind of person who makes decisions very quickly, right? And so I took a very long time to decide what major I wanted to do, and then I finally landed on an integrated studies degree, which is basically a choose your own adventure, which is just perfect for me because how the heck would I know exactly what I'm going to need in my career? But I knew that I didn't want to just take a traditional school path because, let's face it, there's a lot of boring stuff in there. So with an integrated studies degree in film and marketing, I kind of got to choose the classes that I thought would affect me the most and really only take a few of the boring ones. So once I got into my coursework, I was really excited. So I've got a very broad spectrum of education and experience up to this point. I've been an EMT. I was a pre-nursing major. I, obviously been in the Army. I'm doing supply, and my first job was small arms and artillery repair. So kind of mechanic type of stuff. So I'm a DIYer. I'm a figure it out, fix it kind of guy. And so that kind of translates into everything else that I do. But then eventually I started trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and I decided that figuring out how video and marketing works, because video is becoming very important, and it's still really important, and I think it's increasing in importance. And I focused on how storytelling works in marketing, how to use storytelling to do marketing, because it seems like there's all sorts of buzzwords about story and storytelling and how to use storytelling to do better marketing. And I wanted to understand really what that meant. Is it about telling a full story, start to finish? This going through the entire journey of the hero, like Joseph Campbell says in every single one of your ads? Is that a better way to do things? Or is there a different way? And I'm happy to say that I think I have basically figured it out. Yeah, totally 100% figured it out. And that's why I'm qualified for this podcast episode. And so that's really where I saw myself going. And when I was in school, I took classes that made me start thinking in the right direction, because I knew that my 4 years, or actually like 2 years of education in those two fields, would not be enough, and especially if I wasn't executing at that point. And so I wanted to just give myself a firm foundation to build upon, and I feel like I've got that. At the end of my degree, you had to do a capstone for your senior year, and I ended up having to do a capstone for both. I had to do a film capstone, which was a batch of ads that I created, and then I had to do a written capstone for my integrated studies major, and then I didn't really need a capstone for that. I really wanted to do the film capstone. I was really only required to do the integrated studies capstone, but I felt like the experience of producing and writing and directing an ad would actually be really important for me, and it has been. I've taken the foundational things that I've learned and kind of built upon them, and it's been really helpful. I have kind of a different, unique perspective, because there's lots of marketers and lots of film people that didn't go to film school, right? Or didn't go to business school. And so it's like, do you really need that kind of education? I don't know if you need it. Nobody needs it, because there's plenty of people making money without it. But I've noticed that even there's people that are making more than me who maybe don't understand certain things that I understand as well as I do, if that makes sense. But what does it matter? They're making more money than me, right? So at the end of the day, what's the outcome that you're going for? Income. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do. So I think I just dive down deep rabbit holes, and deeper, and finding more and more rabbit holes within the rabbit holes. Rabbit holeception. I've dove into a lot of different disciplines just because that's kind of who I am. I just get interested in something and I take a deep dive. And then after I've taken a deep dive, it's a matter of figuring out, okay, how deep did I actually have to dive, and how far should I back up so that I'm at a functional level? For example, with NAS, I can really go down the rabbit hole there. There's no end to rabbit holing there. And you get to the point where you're home labbing, and you're making a big old home lab that you've got multiple different servers that do different things, because you don't want your one NAS to be doing a bunch of different jobs. You want it to do one job well, and then you want another network attached, or another direct attached storage to that, or something like that. And figuring out what I didn't need was actually super important. So I'd like to dive into a little bit of that too. It's like, what do you need and what do you not need? What do you have? What should you avoid if you're not trying to be the best at that? And then at some point, when should you just decide that instead of trying to do something yourself, you should just buy it yourself? Buy it with the money that you earned instead. That's really fun, and I will get into that. But that's me. And so right now I am working a full-time job at a supplement direct-to-consumer brand. Any talking I do about how a DTC brand works, for ethical reasons, I'm not going to be talking about specifically what that brand is doing. If you were trying to copy what the brand is that I work for, it's not hard to find out if you go on LinkedIn, but I'm not going to say the name. It might not be what your brand actually needs. In different categories, different companies need different things. Even in the same category, you can need different things. So your company is going to be very different. If you're interested in figuring out, diving down the strategy and figuring out what you should do from a foundational level so that you can understand completely what you should be doing tactically, not just running ads, not just putting influencers all over TikTok because that's what you see everybody else doing. You should really ask the deeper questions before you start to ask the shallow questions. So right now I am running my agency at the same time as I'm doing my full-time job, and managing a family, and managing the army, and doing lots of things. How do I choose what to do with my time? And right now, the reason why I have time is because I don't have any clients at the moment. And so I'm taking this opportunity to just make a ton of content so that I can post it all over the place, so I can get lots of recognition and start to actually maybe have a face around places instead of just like, word of mouth. And so I've been meaning to do this for some time now, and I'm actually happy that I'm actually able to jump into it. I'm running an agency, I am a dad, and I am just trying to make this thing work. So some of the things that I've noticed is that any advice for business, any advice for entrepreneurship or whatever, or morning routines and stuff like that, a lot of it is BS, because really you just have to find out what works for you. If somebody were to ask me what my morning routine is, it's like, I don't know, I wake up, I put my clothes on, I run to work so I can start working as soon as possible, so I can get done as soon as possible, so I can work on my side gig. Or if I have to take my kid to a soccer game, that's what I'm doing. Like, what's my routine? Like, it's whatever it calls for. It's whatever the day calls for. I'm always trying to slam a protein shake in the morning, that kind of thing. So we can talk about that later. But yeah, I'm kind of sick of all the get 8 hours of sleep, go to the gym for an hour every single day for your mental health and things like that. It's like, okay, yeah, that works for most of you that don't have kids, but I have kids. And I have other things in my life that I care about. So what do I do for that? I will talk about that because that is something that bugs me. When I think about the reason why I do things, I look at it as it's just math for me. It's all numbers. I'm a numbers guy. And the place that it starts is just like family first. So if I'm trying to prioritize my life, then how should I prioritize my finances and everything else that I do, all the activities that I try to get done and do? It just makes more sense to me now. Like, why am I doing it? So like, how much money do I need to make? You know, I could set a goal of trying to make $2 million in the next 2 years, and that's probably a good idea, but like, what's the point of it if there's not a bigger purpose? And so what's my purpose? My purpose is I want a house for my family to move into. I want us to be able to go on a certain amount of trips every year. I want to be able to take my kids out or be available and grab them and go somewhere outside, like, so my kids aren't sitting around all day, sitting inside of a house or sitting in a classroom or things like that. Like, what's the lifestyle that I want to live, and then designing my job or my career around that instead of the other way around. And when you look at it, you think about, okay, how much do I need to make? So you just do the calculations for where you live or where you want to live, and you say, how much do I need to make to buy the house that I want? So I want probably at least 4 to 5 bedroom, 2 bath, and then you run the calculations. How much money is it going to cost us to raise the kids and maybe have as many kids as we want to have? Do we want to have 10, 6 kids? Do you want to have just 2? You have to figure that out with your spouse, and then you look at how much it's going to cost you to get there, and maybe a little bit extra just to be safe, because inflation is a thing. So you need to plan to be able to try to make more every single year if you can. And so I ran the numbers, and I know exactly how much I need to make, and I'm not going to make that much, most likely in the next few years, just working a job. So that's why I have to do stuff on the side, or I have to do my business. Just go all in on it. And the decision to do that depends on many different factors, but I'm going to tell you about, basically that's how I figured it out. It's like, figure out how much you need to make, and then it's really just it's a dollars and cents thing. It just makes sense. So if you can't make enough money working at your job, what do you got to do? Business. It's not like I would prefer that. If I found a job that paid me the amount that I needed, and then I had, like, you know, a 401k benefit and everything, and then I'd be able to eventually retire. And if I'm happy with the job that I have, then there's no reason for me to start a business, because that's just a lot of extra stress. And do I really want to take years off of my life with the stress? Maybe, maybe not. If I was able to go to a company where I could have the opportunity to become a millionaire just by working there through my performance, then that's a huge incentive to actually stay at that job, right? So it's not like I'm like for one way or the other. I'm for making enough money to have the life that I want to live, and my family comes first to me. And so that's my motivation. And when other people understand my motivation, it really helps them to help me get there. And so it's really nice, because that's how I frame things when I talk to my boss. Maybe that's putting all my cards on the table, but my boss is the kind of person that I can do that with. And so I wouldn't want to work with anybody that I couldn't just show them all the cards and them still treat me fairly like a human being. That would not be okay. So that would be a job situation I'd try to get out of. But I'm actually very happy. So that's the struggle, right? You're like, oh, well, I'm comfortable with the job that I'm at right now, but also I know I'm not going to be able to make enough to live the lifestyle that I want. There you go. Okay, what do you got to do? Just do it. And same thing with, like, are you a morning person or are you a night person? Like, that's a funny thing I'd love to dive into, because it's something that people always say, oh, well, I could never do that. I'm not a morning person. I'm like, I don't know. I'm just a person who's trying to achieve my family's goals. And so it doesn't matter to me if I'm working at 2 a.m. or 2 p.m. Like, it just doesn't matter. Let's continue on. So let me talk a little bit about Grab Your Assets. It's because I have been in the creative space for some time now. I feel like I've been doing video photo stuff for about 8 years at this point, and then I've been doing marketing for, I'd say, like 2 or 3 years. Run some ads for myself. Nothing major. Media buying is not my main job. And then basically my skill set up to this point has been video and photo, brand photography, brand videography, and then just creating content machines that pump out lots of content so I can get lots of different deliverables from a project. So I could, for a small growing company, give them a bunch of brand assets from one shoot. And that's really helpful. That's really powerful, because when you have nothing and you just need volume, just start with some volume. Just making a video isn't going to do it. A lot of people think, well, if I get a video, then it's going to make me lots of money. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. And so figuring out, like, do you need a video sales letter with a bunch of shortcuts that you can put on social media, or a bunch of ad clips, then maybe some photos that you can put in your emails, things like that. Like what exactly is it that you need? And then we'll go from there. Yeah, figuring out the strategy first is just super important before you do anything, before you decide what projects you're going to make. Because for some people, I didn't recommend any video at all. I actually recommended a PR campaign, started opening books about how to do press releases. Press releases of all things. Like, are those even still a thing? Yeah, so it really is whatever the job calls for is kind of what you do. I started figuring out how storytelling worked and coming up with my own framework for it. And it's funny, as I go, it seems like it's basically the same as everybody else. The top people that I talk to that have been doing this kind of work for a while and are very successful, I'll agree. They look at it, makes sense to them immediately. They don't ask me any questions, and so it makes me feel really good. I came about those things on my own, just pulling a bunch of different resources together. And then that's basically the basis of my agency. It's just that the messaging, the creative strategy, figuring out what it is that you actually need, because most people don't even know what they need. Like most marketers are like, I don't even know what this business needs. I just know that they ask for something, or they know that, or they think they need something. So that's where I come in. It's figuring out like, okay, what is it that you actually need? Let me look at this here. Yep, I'm on a journey to grow, obviously, because I really like learning stuff, and I learn more every day. And now it's time for me to start sharing it with people. So I have created, by the time this episode is posted, a free creative audit cheat sheet. It will contain how to approach a gap analysis. You could probably do a quick and dirty one with ChatGPT, but a gap analysis, and the main thing that you need to look at in your space, if you are spending 10,000 a month or more on ads, then you're probably to the point where you need to look at your competition, look at the rest of the industry that you're in, and figure out what it is that you could do that's different. Because what most people are going to do is they're going to see what the big guys are doing and they're going to try to copy them, or they're going to see what their competitors are doing that are outperforming them slightly and say, oh, then I should be doing that. No, that's not what you should do. The best way to go about it is if you look at the whole thing, look at the whole landscape, look at the quality of the content, and learn how to assess quality of content. I can talk about that on the show too. But the quality of the content, the type of content that they're posting, the places that they're posting, the kind of messaging that they're using, the quality of messaging. So you look at all of that, and then you find what they're not doing, where you could fit in, and you're uniquely able to actually compete and outperform them in, and then go do that instead. You could sell the exact same product. You just need to do a gap analysis so you can figure out what you need to be doing that's different, that only you can do, that it would be difficult for other people to fight you on. Now that can be a little bit more difficult to think of, and it's a lot right off the top of your head. If I'm telling you this and I tell you in 5 minutes I want you to give me an answer, that's not the way it works. It's going to take a tremendous amount of work. Or you can just consult with me. Like I said before, I help D2C brands 2 to 3x their ROAS. I do have some campaigns that have done that at the brand that I work at. I've had some success there, and I think I have a knack for it. So influencer marketing, UGC content, higher budget creative, like, spend 20 to 50 grand on creative, and I'll show you what I got. But we could also just start out by figuring out, what your strategy is before we throw lots of money at the problem, right? That's probably the first thing that I would try to help anybody do, really, is just look at like, where's the gap? What is nobody saying? Because it's really easy for everybody to just copy and say exactly the same thing that Alex Hormozy is saying. Hey, Adam, how did I get this hat? Acquisition, who can get this hat? Where do you get this thing? I had a friend who worked for them as a marketing director, so he gave me a free hat, which is cool. Yeah, I heard a funny story. My friend was walking with Alex through an airport. People were asking Alex to give them the hat, and nope, you got to earn the hat, which is kind of cool. And I guess there's other reasons internally that they give people the hat, but they don't just give it out. It's like, so yeah, there's lots of people copying and parroting, and I'm going to do a minimal amount of that, but where it's due and where it makes sense, right? I'm not just going to be spouting off nonsense. I'm just word for word copying Alex Hormozy, because you could just go and watch Alex Hormozy. The first 2 books that you read, it's very much like brute force performance style marketing, and just test until you figure out what works. For me, I like to take the approach of starting with what strategy works the right way, and he does that too. I feel like I've dove in more into the copywriting, more into the creative, and what creative works and doesn't, because even in his own content, he's like, I don't know what's going to work and what doesn't. And honestly, like, really, who knows what's going to work and what doesn't? That's been my focus, and I feel like I have a better idea on that. So that's the lane that I'm going to stay in mostly, is the creative aspect, the creative production, but also talking a little bit about effectiveness of the messaging. Digging a deep moat around your brand in every single way. So one of the ways that you want to do that is creative, and you can do that by looking at my free creative audit cheat sheet. So take a look at that. If you look at it and decide it's something that you want me to do, then reach out, we'll book a call. And you can get in touch with me by reaching out to me on my email, adam@grabyourassets.com. Or if you go to grabyourassets.com, you can see my portfolio. You can see my reel, and then a few recommendations of people who liked working with me, and then a list of some of the brands that I've worked with. at the top there. And then also, I believe right now there's a free resource for figuring out like a creative testing strategy and a messaging strategy, which actually might be very, very useful. And then if you're interested in maybe working with me and you might want to see what kind of stuff I've actually worked on specifically, then reach out to me on my email and I will send you a video. It's like about 30 minutes long. You can watch it at 2x speed that shows you the companies that I've worked with, the projects that I've worked on, some of the results that I've gotten, and that I actually do know a little bit about what I'm talking about, but a lot of it's in execution. And so, yeah, I can make anything, but it's up to you to post it. It's up to you to post it properly, and it's up to you to give it to the right media buyer. And if you have struggles finding the right media buyers, surprise, surprise, I know some people that have done some things at some places. Maybe. So thank you so much for listening. This has been my podcast that I don't have a name for yet, and I'm going to figure that out probably after the first 5 episodes are released. So you'll probably know by now.